You're standing on the first tee, driver in your hands. You swing right around 85 miles an hour, same as me. And you reach into your bag for the same ball the pros play because that is exactly what every commercial told you to do. That ball is quietly stealing your distance. I found that out the hard way, and the afternoon I finally switched, I picked up 11 yards off the tee without swinging one bit harder. This used to be plain common sense among weekend golfers before slick advertising talked us all into playing a ball built for a swing none of us have. So stick with me, because at the very end I am going to show you a strange little test using nothing but a glass of water and a scoop of Epsom salt. It comes from a former NASA physicist named Dave Pelz, who ran it back in the 1970s, and it will change the way you look at every ball in your bag. And it works for your exact swing right now with the clubs you already own. I want to take you back to a moment I still think about. It was late September, and I was standing on the ninth hole at my home course, a little tree-lined track I have played for almost 20 years. My buddy Dave, who is 61 years old and has a swing slower than mine, stepped up and flushed a drive that rolled out 20 yards past mine. 20 yards. I outweigh him by 40 pounds and I swing harder, and he smoked me. Huh, I laughed it off that day. But it ate at me on the drive home, and that little irritation is exactly what started the whole experiment I'm about to walk you through. For years, I did what I bet you have been doing. I walked into the pro shop. I saw the premium tour ball sitting there in that shiny box, and I paid nearly $50 a dozen because that is what the guys on television play. I believed that if I bought the best ball, I was giving myself the best chance. That belief cost me hundreds of dollars a year, and as it turns out, a whole lot of yards. I was completely wrong, and I did not figure out why until I forced myself to actually understand one word that nobody at the counter ever explained to me. That word is compression. Here's the thing almost nobody tells the average golfer. A golf ball has a compression rating, and it basically measures how much the ball squishes when your club strikes it. A high compression ball is firm. It needs a hard, fast strike to compress fully and spring back with all its stored energy. A low compression ball is softer. It compresses fully at a much slower swing speed. And the entire secret to distance for a swing like yours and mine is this: you only get the ball's full energy back if you actually compress it. The premium tour balls, the ones I was buying, carry compression ratings up around 90, sometimes higher. Those balls are engineered for players who swing well over 100 miles an hour. When I swing my 85, I am barely denting that ball. I am leaving energy on the table on every single shot. It is like revving a diesel truck engine in a go-kart. All that potential, and I could not access any of it. This is not new science, not even close. The rubber cord golf ball was patented back in 1898 by a man named Coburn Haskell, working with an engineer from the B.F. Goodrich Company in Ohio. The moment that wound rubber ball appeared, players noticed something remarkable. The ball had a springiness to it, and different players got different results depending on how hard they hit. The old professionals knew, by feel, that a softer ball suited a smoother swing. They talked about it openly. That knowledge was ordinary, passed from caddy to golfer for generations. So how did we forget it? How did a guy like me end up paying top dollar for a ball that was actively working against him? I will get to that, and honestly, it made me angry once I understood it. But first I had to prove the compression idea to myself, because I am stubborn and I did not trust anything a marketer or a blog told me anymore. So I ran my first real test. I bought a dozen of the premium 90 compression ball I always played, and I bought a dozen of a soft, low compression ball with a rating right around 38. That first low compression ball I tested was the Callaway Super Soft, and I picked it on purpose because everyone I respected kept mentioning it, and it cost less than half what my tour ball cost. I went to a launch monitor at my local range, the kind that reads your ball speed and carry distance, and I hit 20 balls of each, alternating so I could not fool myself. The numbers stopped me cold. With the firm tour ball, my average ball speed off the driver was about 125 miles an hour. With the soft Super Soft, at the same swing speed, my ball speed jumped to nearly 130. That is a 5-mile-an-hour gain in ball speed from doing absolutely nothing different except playing a ball that actually compressed for me. On the launch monitor, that translated to roughly 9 to 11 extra yards of carry, drive after drive. I stood there staring at that screen like an idiot. 11 yards free that I had been throwing away for a decade. That is the super soft, and that is my first recommendation for a swing right around 85 miles an hour, especially if all you care about is more distance and a soft feel off the putter. It is cheap, it is long for our swing, and it flies straighter because a softer ball also spins less off the driver, which means less of that ugly slice curve. But raw distance is only half the story, and this is where my experiment took a turn I did not expect. Because here is what happened next. I took that super soft out on the course, thrilled with my new yards, and my short game fell apart. My chips were releasing too far. My wedge shots into the green were not biting. I would land a ball 8 feet from the pin and watch it roll 20 feet past, and that opened up a whole new question that sent me deeper down the rabbit hole. If the softest, lowest compression ball gives me the most distance, why does it feel like I am giving away everything I gained the moment I get near the green? The answer is spin. And understanding it made me realize the ball companies had been selling us a false choice all along. A golf ball has to do two opposite jobs. Off the tee, you want low spin so the ball flies straight and rolls out. Around the green, you want high spin so the ball stops fast when it lands. A pure distance ball like the Super Soft gives you that low tee spin, but it also gives you low greenside spin, which is why my chips would not stop. The expensive tour balls do the opposite. They are built with a soft cover, usually a material called urethane, that grabs the grooves of your wedge and generates huge spin near the green, but they need that fast swing to perform off the tee. For years, the message to guys like us was, pick one. Either you get distance or you get control. And the industry was very happy for us to believe that, because it kept us confused and kept us buying whatever was newest. But that is a lie, and by the early 2000s, the ball engineers had quietly solved it. The problem was never the technology. The problem was that the marketing money went into selling us the tour ball fantasy instead of telling us the truth about our own swings. The truth is, there is now a whole category of ball designed specifically for the moderate swing speed player who wants both. That brings me to my second recommendation, the one that fixed my short game problem completely. It is the Titleist AVX. Now this shocked me, because it is a Titleist, and I assumed every good Titleist was built for tour pros. But the AVX sits at a compression around 78, noticeably softer than the premium tour ball, and it wears a soft urethane cover. So I got most of my distance back off the tee, my ball speed stayed high, and yet my wedge shot started biting and checking up near the hole again. I tested it the same honest way. On the course, real conditions, real wind. My drives were only about 3 yards shorter than the pure distance ball, but my approach shots were landing and stopping within a few feet of where they hit. For a swing right around 85, the AVX gave me the best balance of anything I had tried up to that point. It costs about the same as the premium tour ball, so it is not cheap, but you are not paying for a ball that ignores your swing. You are paying for one that works with it. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. You are thinking this is fine for a guy who has money to burn on launch monitors and dozens of golf balls to test, but that is not your situation. Maybe you play twice a month. Maybe $50 a dozen is out of the question and you buy whatever is on the clearance rack. Or you fish balls out of the pond by the 12th green like my father-in-law does. I hear you, and I promise this next part is for you specifically, because the single most important thing I learned costs you nothing at all. You do not need a launch monitor to fix this. You do not need to spend a dime more than you already spend. All you need to do is stop buying based on the name on the box and start buying based on one number, the compression, and that number is your permission to spend less, not more. Here is the rule I wish somebody had handed me 20 years ago. If your driver swing is somewhere around 85 miles an hour or below, You want a ball with a compression rating under 70. That single sentence is worth more than every marketing brochure ever printed. And the beautiful part is that the balls in that range are almost always the cheaper ones. The industry priced them low because they assumed only beginners and seniors would want a soft ball, never realizing they were pricing the perfect ball for millions of everyday players at a discount. So this works no matter your budget. In fact, the tighter your budget, the better this news is for you. That is why my third recommendation is built entirely around value, and it might be the best kept secret in this whole video. It is the Wilson Duo Soft. The Duo Soft carries one of the lowest compression ratings you can find, right around 35, which means it compresses fully for a swing much slower than 85, let alone right at it. And it sells for well under half the price of a premium ball, often around $20 a dozen or less. I bought a dozen almost as a joke, expecting a hard, clicky range ball. Instead, I got a ball that felt soft off every club and flew nearly as far as balls costing 3 times as much. I gave a sleeve to my buddy Dave, the one who outdrove me back on that 9th hole, and it turned out he had already stumbled onto a low compression ball years ago without even knowing why it worked. That was his whole secret. He was not stronger or more talented. He was just playing a ball that gave him back all his energy while I was playing one that swallowed mine. When he told me that, I finally understood the 20 yards, and I finally understood how badly I had been fooled. So, if money is tight, the Wilson Duo Soft is your ball. You will lose almost nothing to the fancy stuff off the tee, you will feel it come soft off your putter, and you will keep $30 a dozen in your pocket every single time. There is no reason on earth a person with a smooth 85-mile-an-hour swing should be paying tour ball prices, and now you know why. But here is where the plot thickens, because the ball companies did not just quietly let this knowledge fade. There was a reason the tour ball became the aspiration for every weekend player, and it goes back further than you would guess. Back in the 1960s and 70s, when the professional tours exploded onto television, the ball makers realized something. If they could get the best players in the world to play their ball on Sunday afternoons, millions of amateurs watching at home would want that exact same ball on Saturday morning. It did not matter one bit whether that ball suited the amateur. The whole point was to sell the dream, not the fit, and it worked spectacularly. Entire generations of golfers, me included, walked into the shop and asked for the ball we saw win the tournament, never once asking whether it matched our own swing. The knowledge that a softer ball suited a slower swing, the knowledge the old caddies had, the knowledge that was common in the Haskell era, got buried under decades of Sunday advertising. We did not lose that knowledge by accident. It was drowned out on purpose, because a confused customer who chases the pros is far more profitable than an informed one who buys the right ball for $20 and never changes. That realization is what pushed me to keep testing, because I refused to be that confused customer anymore. And if this way of thinking, cutting through the noise, recovering the practical knowledge that got buried under marketing is something you want more of, I put the full framework into a book called First Wins. It walks through the same process I use here. Find the one thing that actually moves the needle, build it into a sharp habit, then stack the whole system over time. It is called First Wins, and you can find it linked in the description below. Whether it is golf or anything else you are trying to get right, the method is the same, and it starts with refusing to be the confused customer. And it led me to 2 more balls that deserve a place in any bag swinging around 85 before I get to the strange finale I promised you. My 4th recommendation is for the player who wants that premium tour feel and performance, but has finally accepted the truth about compression. It is the Callaway Chrome Soft. This is a genuine premium urethane-covered tour-level ball, but here is the key detail the marketing buries. Its compression sits around 75, far softer than the traditional tour ball that lives up near 90. Callaway built it deliberately for the player who wants everything but does not swing 110 miles an hour. When I tested it, I got the full greenside spin and control of a tour ball, the soft feel I had come to love, and off the tee it still compressed enough at my speed to keep my ball speed high. My drives were long, my irons flew true, and my chips checked up like they were on a string. It is not cheap, running right around the $50 mark for a dozen, but if you are going to spend premium money, this is a premium ball that actually respects your swing instead of ignoring it. That is the whole difference. You are not paying for a Sunday television fantasy. You are paying for engineering aimed at a real person who swings like you and me. And my fifth recommendation splits the difference beautifully for the player who wants tour-level greenside spin without the top-shelf price. It is the tailor-made tour response. Compression right around 70, soft urethane cover, and it usually sells for noticeably less than the flagship tour balls, often closer to $40 a dozen. I found it gave me almost everything the Chrome Soft did: the spin, the feel, the control, at a price that did not sting nearly as much. For a swing around 85 that wants to play a real urethane ball without paying the full premium, the tour response is the sweet spot, and it is the ball I reach for most often now when I want the best of both worlds. So there's your top 5 for a swing right around 85 miles an hour. The Callaway Super Soft for pure cheap distance, the Titleist AVX for balanced performance with a big name, the Wilson Duo Soft for unbeatable value on a tight budget, the Callaway Chrome Soft for premium feel that fits your swing, and the tailor-made Tour Response for tour spin without the tour price. Every one of them sits in that compression window under 80, most of them well under 70, and every one of them will treat your swing better than the 90 compression ball you have probably been playing. But I promised you something at the very beginning, and this is the part I am most excited to share, because it is the piece almost no golfer on earth knows about. It does not matter which of these 5 balls you buy if the ball itself is flawed inside. And here's the shocking truth. A huge number of golf balls, even brand new ones straight out of the sleeve, are out of balance. Their weight is not distributed evenly around the center, and an out-of-balance ball wobbles almost invisibly in flight and rolls offline on the green, no matter how perfectly you strike it. I told you this came from a former NASA physicist, and here is the story. Dave Pell spent years working for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration before he devoted his life to studying the science of golf. And back in the 1970s, Pells ran extensive testing on golf balls and discovered that a startling percentage of them had their center of gravity off from their physical center. When he tested how these unbalanced balls behaved on the putting green, he found they could roll off the intended line by inches over a putt of just a few feet. Inches. That is the difference between a made putt and a lipped-out heartbreaker, and it had nothing to do with your stroke. So how do you find these bad balls at home for free this weekend? This is the test the old-timers used, and the test Pells' work validated with hard science. You take a tall glass or a bowl, you fill it with water, and you stir in Epsom salt, the kind you soak your feet in, a few tablespoons at a time. Keep stirring and adding salt until a golf ball floats freely in the water. Now here is the magic. Drop your ball in and give it a gentle spin. If the ball is perfectly balanced, it will stop in a random spot every time you spin it. But if the ball is out of balance, the heavy side will always sink to the bottom, and the same spot will float to the top over and over again. I did not believe it until I tried it in my own kitchen with a mixing bowl. I tested a dozen balls, spinning each one 5 or 6 times, and marking the balls that kept floating the same way with a permanent marker. Out of that dozen, 3 of them, a full quarter, were clearly out of balance, floating with the exact same spot up every single time. 3 balls I would have played without a second thought, 3 balls that would have cost me putts and drives, and I caught them with a bowl of salt water on my counter. Once you find a balanced ball, you can even take it a step further, exactly the way Pells' research suggests. Mark the spot that floats up, and when you set the ball down to putt, aim that heavy pole either straight up or straight down and roll the ball along your target line so the balance point spins true. It sounds like witchcraft, but it is pure physics, and it is the same principle that keeps a car tire from shaking at highway speed when it is properly weighted. This knowledge existed, it got buried under decades of selling you the dream. A physicist kept it alive in his research, and now it is yours. That is the whole thing I set out to find. I started this because a slower man outdrove me on the ninth hole, and it made me feel like something had been stolen from me, and something had. What was taken was the simple, once common knowledge that the right ball is the one that fits your swing, not the one that fits a television commercial. I got that knowledge back with a launch monitor, a bowl of salt water, and a whole lot of stubbornness, and now you have it without any of the hassle I went through. If you are the kind of person who suspects that a lot of what we get sold is designed to keep us confused, dependent, and reaching for our wallets, then you already understand what this video was really about. It was never just about golf balls. It was about refusing to buy the dream and choosing the truth instead. So here is what I want from you. Tell me down in the comments what compression ball you have been playing, and be honest about it, because I already confessed I wasted years on a 90 compression ball I had no business swinging. Tell me your swing speed and the ball in your bag right now, and tell me if you are going to run that Epsom salt float test this weekend. I read these, and I want to know how many of your balls come out unbalanced, because I am willing to bet it is more than you expect. Do not just think it and scroll away. Actually type it out, because this is how we help each other stop getting fooled. And if you want more of this, if you want to keep recovering the practical knowledge that got quietly pushed aside so we would keep paying for things our parents got right for free, then join us. Subscribe and be part of it. Because the next thing I tested absolutely floored me. I took a brand new $40 dozen and an old scuffed up ball I found in the woods, and I ran them both through the same test to answer a question every golfer has argued about for 50 years, whether a used ball really loses distance or whether that is one more thing we have been told to believe, so we keep buying new. What I found was not at all what I expected, and I cannot wait to show you. I swing 85 too, just like you, so this came straight from the tee. But we only had time for the overview here. Inside the old ways circle, I pick up right where this video stopped. When you have a question, you ask me directly, and I answer you myself. You belong here with thousands of old ways folks already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime with one click.